What's up, everybody? It's your boy Dwayne, Retro Gamer is I, and I finally got around to showing you all my favorite console ever. Like, my favorite console ever. Like, you guys have no idea what I mean. Ever? Like, ever? Yeah, ever. Let's talk about it. This is the Sega Dreamcast. It's the last console made from Sega. The very last one. There was no successor to it. No, none of that. You know, I think the last console made was the Sega Saturn before this one. So yeah, it was, this was the last one. So in a nutshell, this was kind of a letdown for Sega, kinda. I want to say that the Sega Dreamcast had great success before the PlayStation 2 came out. And if you guys want to check that video out, I did for this PlayStation 2. The link will be in the description. I will definitely leave it there for you guys so you can check it out. But this right here is the Sega Dreamcast. This console right here revolutionized gaming, I feel, in a nutshell. If you guys love Xbox, then you need to come over here and give a congratulations to the Sega Dreamcast. You need to go and give a handshake or whatever you need to do, because Xbox definitely, branded its type of style around the Sega Dreamcast. The Sega Dreamcast was a console that I always say it was before its time. It was way too graphical. It was already doing online things. It was too much for the consumer, and people really didn't understand how to take it in. It was released in North America September 9th, 1999. And I've had this console ever since then. So this console is a beaut. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Here's your power button. Here's your open button. When you turn it on, this turns orange. Whatever it turns. This, you can tell it's American because of the orange logo back here. This is the controller. If you really look at the controller, you can definitely see a lot of similarities with this controller and this controller. You can definitely see a lot of similarities to it. Like I said before, this is the first console that was absolutely able to go online. It didn't do very well. It was a lot of freezing up because back in the day we had dial-up, and that's all it was. You could do broadband, but for the most part, a lot of people did dial-up, and that was it. That was the only thing that you could definitely do with this console. This console ended up selling about 10.6 million consoles worldwide. In a nutshell, that's okay. One of the biggest things that this console failed for was the simple reason because the PlayStation 2 ended up coming out, and the PlayStation 2 had a DVD player. If you guys look back in the video, that was the whole reason that this console right here did not do as good as it should have done. It was graphically inclined. It was capable of all of the things that the PlayStation was capable of, except for the DVD player. And the DVD player, like I said, made a huge staple in the community because it was so cheap. Now, this right here is the answer to the memory card, and basically all you would definitely just put it in here, and it would load in like that, and then you'll definitely be able to see, like, what game you're playing. It's gonna save on there. You'll probably get a little avatar every now and then. In some games like Sonic, I was able to play little mini side games just with this. I was able to play some mini side games. I'm not sure if the battery ran out, but yeah, I don't think the battery should have ran out yet. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, this console right here was probably, one of the best consoles ever made, period. It's not the best selling, it's not the best looker, but it was simple and straight to the point. It played games on here that I think Xbox gamers wanted to play even before there was an Xbox. If you guys get my drift, there was a lot of kiddie things going on in the gaming world at this point. I mean, by this time in 1999, I was 15. Nope, I was 14. I was 14, and and I had already had a Sega Genesis, so I knew what games were, and I knew what I wanted to play. Now, don't get it twisted. I played Nintendo 64. That was the generation before this one. I think Nintendo 64 was the 5th generation, and I loved my Nintendo 64. I had the green one. I had the green, all green one. The drum was dope. But as me growing into my teenage years, I wanted to play something more risky. That's when this came along, and it blew my mind ever since then. This plus the Xbox One is the only system that I ever waited in line for. I've never waited in line for any other system. The Nintendo, I was too young. I wasn't even born. The Sega was too young, but my mother bought it for me. The Jaguar was pointless. The PlayStation, I didn't stand in line for it. My mother bought it for me. My mother and my father bought that for me. Yeah, and the PlayStation 2, it was just, shit. They just had a shit ton of them, and they were there, so I didn't have to rush for that. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the games that I have, and so here we go. All right, guys. So number one, I'm gonna start off with Toy Commander. Toy Commander is a really fun game. It was basically a little spin-off to Toy Story. It has some really cool things going on in it. It was very different. Not my favorite game, but it did what it was supposed to do. It was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it was a cool game, a cool idea. Just not really my speed, but this is part of the collection, and it was one of those games that I think that you have to pick up to see the true graphics of the Sega Dreamcast. Now, this game right here is amazing. Dead or Alive 2 is so dope. It's one of those games that you have to play. And that was another thing that the Dreamcast really lived for the fighting games, for the fighting arcade type of games. If you had a Sega Dreamcast, you know what I'm talking about. It was definitely for the fighters, the people that like the fighting games. Yeah, man. Soul Calibur is so dope. This game right here, my wife and I have played countless hours of this damn game. We be in here just playing around on the TV, just playing around on some games, and we'll go like 20 rounds. Whoever beats the other person, has to wash the dishes or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty cool. It's one of those games that literally, if you are a Sega Dreamcast owner and you do not have this game, just stop. And yeah, you might see the logo down here. I had to take it off another box. So yeah, the NFL logo. Alright, guys. Soul Reaver. Soul Reaver is absolutely dope. I'm really into fighting games and like storyline games, so this game definitely is real cool to me. I like the graphics on it. It was, if you're a retro gamer and and you can say you like the graphics, kudos, because this game right here has some really good graphics on it. It was real cool. Like, this was probably one of the longest games I've ever played. Like you see right there, it says over 40 hours of gameplay. This was probably one of the first long games that I played. One of the very first very long games that I played. Like, Nintendo games are not that long. They're pretty much like 5 hours, 6 hours, tops. So yeah. Soul Reaver, it was real dope. Real dope. Now, you cannot talk Dreamcast without talking this game. You just can't. Crazy Taxi is absolutely the game that you have to have. I don't care about any of these other games. If you don't have this game, then you're not a Sega Dreamcast fan. I'm sorry. Crazy Taxi was real fun. It was a competitive type of game. It was definitely an arcade feel type game. By this time in 99, arcades and things kind of were on a decline, sadly. But you had some arcades places, but sadly it was on a decline. But we finally had this system that could pull off this plus the Neo Geo. Now that's a whole nother story, but if you're into arcade games, period, Neo Geo is where you have to play it. But This game right here was definitely one of those games where it was competitive. You still had your friends come over, and you all tried to see who could, drop off as many people before the timer went up, before the other person. It was competitive. It was fun. It was all of these things. It was a really cool game. So kudos to Crazy Taxi. Last but definitely not least, one of the games that I say you have to have is Death Crimson OX. Death Crimson is kind of like, oh my god, what is the name of that game? Dead or Alive? Dang, what is the name of that game? It's kind of like that. Well, you can have your light gun, which I don't own. And it's one of those games where you have people just coming out the woodworks, shooting at you and all of that type of stuff. And you got to shoot them back and all that type of stuff. It's a real cool game. I mean, it's definitely one of those games that you have to play. I don't really know what else to say about it. I bought this game off of Amazon, and I was like, man, I really need some more games. Look, look at this right here. Read that. July 29th, 2010. Man, it was kind of like they were saying that the future was 2010, and we've surpassed that tremendously. Yeah, man, it's one of those games that you have to play. I don't really have a backstory on this game. It's just a really fun game. Most of the games on the Dreamcast are really just fun, arcadey type games. There was never a real serious storyline behind most of the games. Like my game that I just pointed out, Soul Reaver, was a really awesome story-driven game. Shamu is a really good story-driven game, but Shamu's not really my type of game. I don't really care for it that much. It's more of a point and click type of game, and it's not really a game that I really care for. It's created a lot of buzz, and hopefully Xbox will definitely get the game to come back, and that would be huge for Xbox, and I will pick it up. But it's not really like one of those games that I just definitely have to go out and get. Now, to add to my collection, I definitely will pick it up. But guys, the Dreamcast was definitely a system worth mentioning in any type of retro collection. Any type of retro collector should definitely mention the Dreamcast. I feel it was just a great console. And the only sad part about this console, it was a system that you could go to your friend's house, you could have fun, you know what I'm saying? It was a gaming college dorm room staple besides the N64 for college students and things like that. It was a system worth mentioning, a system worth giving its praise, and a system that was definitely slept on by the mainstream media because of the PlayStation 2. But just like we know, most of the things that go underrated are better than whatever is put up against. I'll leave that alone. So guys, leave your comments. Let's talk about it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I don't think that any of the other games, I may do a part 2 showing you more of the collection, and we'll see. Alright guys, it's Dwayne Retro Gamer as and I'm out of here. Peace. Guys, before I get out of here, I want to do a quick shout out to people that have started me on my journey to becoming a retro informer, becoming part of the retro community. I hope to gain you guys respect just as much as these guys have gained you all's respect also. I'm only here just to become the newest and one of the best retro gaming commentators and retro gaming having persons. So first of all, ignore the phone in the background. I know if you guys can hear it, probably a telemarketer. But number one, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Gamester81. Gamester81. The guy is absolutely phenomenal. I enjoy his work. He gets straight to the point, and he has some of the best collection I've ever seen. He has more of a underground collection that I've seen. I mean, some of his stuff is mainstream, but some of the stuff you may not even know what he has or what it is. Another person I want to give a shout out to is the Angry Video Game Nerd. He is probably one of the best reviewers and one of the best YouTubers I've ever had a chance of witnessing. And I've also wanted to go to some of his live concerts and things of that nature, but it's really hard when you live in Virginia and they doing stuff way across on the other side of the world. So also want to give a shout out to the Black Nerd. Really awesome guy. He retweets a lot of stuff from me. He doesn't really do a lot of retro things, but when he does retro things, it's really awesome to see it, and it's awesome to see his collection of retro toys and things like that. That's another thing I want to get into also. Last but not least, I shouted him out in my last video, but it's also very welcoming to do it again, and that's Metal Jesus Rocks. Metal Jesus Rocks he rocks. The guy's collection is absolutely stupid, phenomenal, big, man. Like I'm hoping to get there one day. If I just have the time, I'm gonna get there. So guys, that's what I want to do real quick. I just want to give a shout out, and that's about it. Peace out.